A couple of weeks ago I made this review for God of War Ragnarok, and in it I said this.
This game is a must play. It's amazing and in my opinion the game of the year.
Which at the time was true. I fell in love with Ragnarok, from its cast to the gameplay to the amount of content that I could waste my time on.
Snack?
I do not need a snack.
However, at the time of playing Ragnarok, I had barely touched Elden Ring. I am not a very big From Software player. The whole concept of dying over and over again isn't really fun to me. And yeah, I know that if you're good at the game, then you won't have that issue. But if you don't play these games a lot,
You tend to suck.
Nonetheless, I did somehow manage to finish Bloodborne, never touched the DLC, and the Demon Souls remake and Sekiro I've also played but barely touched. I grazed it, as a matter of fact, grazed it with my dick. In Dutch, we would say, ik heb ze geswaffeld. And trust me, I swaffled the shit out of those games. Throughout the years, I've gotten very accustomed to playing games in which the developer always tells me what to do, where to go, and even how to solve the puzzle I've just recently discovered.
Alright, let's see what these wheels do. Okay, I think I see what's going on here.
And yeah, that has gotten pretty annoying, to be honest. I needed something else. Preferably a game that from the very start wouldn't tell me jack shit. They say that From Software games are incredibly hard, and I was ready to be bent over. I was looking for the pain.
I want it. I need it. Make it hurt.
And let me tell you, hurt? It did.
No, 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 no. Wait. Wait.
Oh. Okay, this is like the the fifth time I'm recording, or actually re-recording this. So if I've lost some of my natural charm, that's the reason why.
Yeah!
From the moment I started the game, I got exactly what I wished for, as I had no clue where to go, what to do, or even what in the flying was going on. I wandered around Lingrave for a bit, got slaughtered by this guy about, 20,000 times, and then by mere accident stumbled into my first NPC that gave me some sense of direction on where to go. Unfortunately, it had nothing to do with the main story, but fortunately, I didn't need much longer after activating all 8 of my brain cells to figure out that the quote-unquote checkpoints I was running into were quite literally pointing me in the direction that I needed to go. So off I went. I'm going on an adventure. Going from games in which you always follow a quest marker or a mini-map or even a objective, this was a quite nice change of pace, to be honest. I mean, there were no wrong directions. Technically. You could go wherever the fuck you wanted to. You could mess around in an area for hours only to then find a random lift or a ladder that went somewhere else, and then it was like, boom, new area. Sometimes it weren't even ladders or lifts, it was something even more random, like a coffin. And then when you got out of that coffin, you realized that the area you had been exploring had another entirely different area below it, which you could also now explore, which was just... This didn't just blow my I don't play Souls games mind, it blew my I've been playing video games since the age of 6 mind. You know how often it happens in video games that you like see some beautiful stuff in the distant horizon, but then when you try to reach it you realize that it's just blocked off by an invisible wall or an insta-death, something like that. That doesn't happen here. The beautiful scenery that you see whenever you unlock a new area, you can go there. You can go everywhere as far as the eye can see. Every time I thought I had unlocked every area of the map, new places kept unlocking. New underground dungeons were being discovered, and new places of absolute elegance were located. Beautiful, isn't it? Words can't describe how good it felt to just buy random shit and to figure out on your own what it does. A classic example would be incantations, as even I could figure out that I needed certain stat requirements before I could use them, but even after I had reached those, the game grayed them out in my little mini wheel quick menu item thingy. So I was like, alright, what? How in the fuck do I use this? Lo and behold, I was shopping for some new items and I saw a seal. Not that kind of seal, this seal. I'm pretty sure it's called a seal. I don't have the game in front of me right now, but let's just aim for seal, alright? If it's called something else, I'll put a picture on screen, but seal. And I was like, okay, there's no way that this does damage, right? Like, what am I gonna do with it? Just grab it and hit someone over the head with it? But when I equipped it in-game, I suddenly saw that one of my incantations wasn't grayed out anymore. So I was like, okay, I wonder what this does. Oh. Now listen, I have no clue what are the best weapons in the game, which are the worst ones, the best armor, the worst armor, the best builds and the worst builds. I have no clue. And truth be told, for a first playthrough, I didn't care. I just wanted to experiment and see what happened. And the fact that that's possible is already pretty sick on its own, because how often does it happen that you start playing a new game and then halfway through, when you keep getting killed by everyone, you realize, oh shit, the build that I've been creating is absolute trash. My character is trash, the weapons are trash, my entire life is trash, and then you either have to restart the game or do like a half-assed respec, cost all of your gold and PTSD from games like The Witcher and Dragon Age and stuff like that. Here that doesn't happen. I mean, I'm fairly certain, I'm sure someone who's already put like 4,000 hours into this game is gonna correct me in the comments, but you can just pick whatever class you want and it barely matters. Sure, if you have like a complete guide or a build in mind, then it does, but a moron like me can just pick something that looks cool, start experimenting with it, and then when I see a new weapon, like, oh hey, I need more strength for this, doesn't matter what I picked, put points into strength, do it, and then from there use the weapon and then kill shit. It works. Alright, was all of it overwhelming? Yeah, because as you've probably already noticed, it was a bit of a shit show. Alright, I started off with like a strength build because the only two things that I really understood were strength and vigor, but then I found a new weapon that scales off of dexterity, looked cool, started putting points into that, but then I ran into a couple of bosses who were only weak to magic damage, so I started putting points into intelligence and into faith, and yeah, it wasn't pretty. But what was great was that if you just somehow managed to get to like the second story boss of the game, via her you could respec your entire character. So even if you were complete trash like me and your character is even worse than you are as a human being, just make it until the second boss and then, you know, respec and try again. You can do it. I believe in you. You should also believe in yourself. And if you don't, well, I don't know. Just pretend like you believe in yourself. It's essentially the same thing. Next segment part thingy. My laptop also just died, so. Timing. Yeah. Woo. New day, new me, right? What were we talking about? Oh yeah, weapons. You're gonna need all of those weapons because the bosses, this is like the meat and potatoes of the Souls series, right? And in this case, it's 90% meat. Truth be told, especially after all of the hype about, oh my god, this game is like a billion bosses to fight, stuff like that. Obviously, I liked some of them a lot more than certain others. Now here's the funny thing, just because a boss is kicking my ass doesn't mean I don't like fighting him or her. It's more that some of them were incredibly well done, from the build up to the change in scenery whenever you got them to halfway health, their entire moveset, all of it was just pure perfection. Now, others were simply just not fun at all. I'm talking constant AoE spam, but they also did lingering damage on top of the status effects. And then when you thought, hey, at least he's dying, slowly but surely we're getting there, then suddenly another one spawned. Nah, not fun. Nope. Thankfully though, as in with most things in life, the more I played it, the better I got at it. You can say about Souls games whatever you like, but they at least require skill. most of the time. Unless you give up very, very early into the game, you pretty quickly realize that not every weapon is suited for every category, every situation, every fight. Just don't use the same weapon for everything is what I'm trying to say. You also learn that constantly spamming your rolls also doesn't help, because a lot of the bosses have a delay in their attacks. So if they start attacking and you just think, oh, I'm gonna roll out the way prematurely, that won't happen. Normally I'm quite the expert at doing things prematurely, but now, I learned from my mistakes. So at the start it's just death, 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 but eventually you start getting much better at the game, and then you are the one who is delivering all of the death, death, death. It's also pretty funny how this builds itself up throughout your playthrough. As in the very beginning you're gonna get absolutely slaughtered by things like a pack of rats, but near the end game you're gonna be curb stomping everybody that you come across. Packs of diverse enemies, slaughtered. Bosses, slaughtered. Giants, slaughtered. Invasions, slaughtered. Giants compared with invasions, multi-kill or multi-slaughtered. It also helps that the combat just feels right, you know? The hitboxes are centimeter perfect. No, not inch perfect. I refuse. No. Every swing from a weapon just feels like it would cleave someone in half if you would do it in real life. All of the spells and the faith incantations just look absolutely beautiful. And hey, even if all of that fails, you can always summon the most overpowered, the most powerful, boss-slapping character in the entire game. Yes, I am talking about the jellyfish. I'm not kidding, by the way. This dude saved my ass during the first couple of, well, not even hours, the first days of playing so many times, it's insane. I have no clue if he's good or not, or a laughingstock or whatever. All I know is, if you put him up against a fucking Panzer tank, I swear to God, the tank will have more damage than he does. He's my best friend. The last time I played a game of this skill was all the way back in high school, when I played The Witcher 3 for the very first time. In that game, it didn't really matter where I went, even though there were some level locks and you shouldn't, and you didn't, and you had every corner you turned, didn't matter which direction you went into, there was a new quest, a new NPC, a new dungeon, always just something new to discover. And the exact same thing happened here. It was so fun to just bump into a random NPC or an activity or even something like a map, and then comparing that map with your own map and being like, alright, should I go here, there, try to remember the landmarks, try to recognize stuff on the map, go there, and then actually being like, holy shit, it's actually here. Without just a minimap telling me exactly where to go the moment I pick it up. What was even better was the way how you could reach new areas. I previously talked about the ladders and the lifts, but there were also a lot of times where you just rolled down some rocks or used your horse to jump to new places, and it worked. No instant deaths, no invisible walls. Even if you were blocked off somewhere, jump on your horse and parkour your way up there, it worked. The game was constantly rewarding you for your creativity, and I think that that's something that everybody can appreciate, right? Whether you're good or bad at these games, like them or not, doesn't really matter. It's essentially sick that there's no limit to your own imagination. I mean, linear stories are fun from time to time, but the whole reason I started loving video games when I was a kid was that I could be as creative with them as possible, and this game rewards creativity more than honestly any other game I've seen in recent history. Now, people always say that the From Software games have incredibly deep lore, which would also explain why YouTube is filled to the brim with theories, explanation videos, and story summaries, as nobody at the end of a From Software game goes, "Ah, yeah, that makes sense." It's more like, I'm sorry, what the fuck? Trying to figure out stuff via an NPC dialogue is one thing, but I truly have no clue how people finish these games without either the help from someone else or just a general guide on the internet. Side quests always started off pretty simple. You like run into a guy and he's like, hey, go and fetch this somewhere in this area. If you're lucky, you bump into it, then you bring it back, he gives you something, and then it's like, okay, take that thing, whatever it is, and bring it to like the top of this hill and give it to someone there. Cool, makes sense. You go there, holy fuck, there's actually someone over here. You give it to her, you think that's the end of it, but then you're like, alright, don't I get a reward? Or Anything? No? Nothing? Cool. However, that's not the end of it. Everything after that. Oh my god. For this particular example, I needed 2 different guides and a YouTube video to figure out how in the fuck to complete this. After saving this woman, she appeared in the most random places throughout the map that had 0 ties to her first location where I found her. The same could be said for items that I needed for the quest. Yeah, it wasn't much fun. But it wasn't the only issue I ran into though. I, for the life of me, couldn't find one of the bosses that the NPCs kept talking about, Rykard. I knew he was in a volcano somewhere due to this dialogue.
You'll be after more great runes now, eh? Pray to Rykard, Lord of the volcano manor of Mount Gelmir.
But where? No clue. I at first thought that he was one of the main bosses I had to kill because he was on the list, but apparently he wasn't the main boss, he was an optional boss. Whatever, I thought I had to kill him. I couldn't find him, it pissed me off, I had to Google it. Turned out there was no way to reach him without accepting the request from this lady who was living in the volcano manor. Not in the volcano, but in the house next to the volcano. However, her request was to betray your people and to destroy the Earth Tree. Like, yeah, that thing you've been trying to reach from the start of the game that everybody is praising, they want you to destroy it. I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that, fuck off, right? Because why would I? But then people started saying, alright, you need to accept her request, otherwise you can't get to Rykard. And even if I hadn't looked that up, the NPCs in the manor were also like, hey, yeah, if you want to kill Rykard, join us, etc.
Whatever that thing is no longer. Pray to Rykard. Someone must kill him.
But turns out it is possible to reach him without accepting her request. But then if you do that, you lose all of her dialogue and all of her quests and also all of the rewards that you get from her quests. So yeah, I was slightly confused, to say the least. So let's look at what the internet said. Should I join her? No reason not to. Yes, there are no downsides and you get a bunch of good items. Does it affect the Rani quest at all? If I choose a maiden, it will be her. Simp. Alright. So yeah, essentially there were no downsides whatsoever to betraying everything you stood for, and you could just join her, and that was the only way to get all of the rewards and the experience and reach the boss in a proper manner.
This blasphemous path leads only to a pitiful death. Before you consider hunting any of your own kind, think on that.
How am I supposed to know that? I can already now envision people typing like, listen, it's your first playthrough, you should have just gone with it. You should have just experienced firsthand what would have happened instead of looking up the best way to complete everything. That's fair, I'm normally 100% behind that. But this game took me weeks to complete. I'm not trying to erase everything that I've done with one wrong decision. Does that make sense? Like, I do not want my current playthrough to go to shit all because of one simple mistake that I can't undo. But every time I've tried a Souls game in the past and have given up, and even now with Elden Ring, I've ran into the same issue where eventually I'm like, alright, what am I supposed to do? Where am I to go? And with the main quest, it's barely an issue though, right? Like, there's always 1 or 2 friendly NPCs on Elden Ring. There are like those finger reading ladies who will always give you a clue. Hey, go east, go west, go do this, go to talk to that guy. So that's fine. That's all whatever. Finishing the main story is fairly simple to figure out, at least. All of the side content, but Jesus fuck, that was just not fun to do. Like, I don't want to constantly have to look at like a guide and then play the game and look at the guide and play the game again and go back and forward every 5 seconds to try and finish something. That's not fun to me. What was fun was talking to these random NPCs, and then whenever they mentioned a location, I quickly had to write it down or make a note in my phone. And that stuff legit reminded me of when I was a kid, all the way in the GameCube and the PlayStation 2 days, because back then I didn't use the internet to look stuff up. I had to figure out everything myself. On top of that, as you probably have noticed, English isn't my mother tongue. Back then I barely spoke English. I still barely speak English. So I had to write all of these things down, right, to remember it later. That was great, and one of the most fun experiences when gaming as a kid. So that was nostalgic. It was cool to do that, but still, figuring everything out on your own is impossible. And the same could be said for plenty of other quests. It was the same with the whole Blight. Maybe to him he don't seem so strange. The name's Blythe. The same could be said for the whole Blythe quest. At least that quest had like other NPCs who were sort of related to him or in the same faction, so I could talk to them for a bit more information. But it happened pretty often. He was like, alright, we met here, cool, I'm now going over here. Then when I went there, he wasn't there. Googled it, oh yeah, he's not really going there, he's actually over here. Okay. I'm running out of space on my phone, so let's wrap this up. Stop. Now, that was the only negative thing I could really think of. However, satisfying gameplay with tons of replay value, a map that just keeps bigger and bigger, a shitload of crazy NPCs to talk to, and even after all of that, my favorite thing in this entire game, and I shit you not, was the messaging system. Why no other games have tried to implement something like this blows my mind, but it's amazing. They've ensured that people can't type out entire messages because that would turn into a complete disaster. No, they've handpicked a few phrases and concepts and things you can select, and with that you can just make a little message. 9 out of 10 times when I looked at them, I was still like, I have no clue what this means, but it was great. I have also indulged myself in this activity. It's just not funny. It's not just purely for entertainment or for exploration purposes, as you also get your health back whenever someone positively appraises your message, which is also great. I don't know, it's just a very immersive and great system, and it really made me think about all of the games in recent years that were just 99% single player focused, but then they had to throw in some multiplayer, and it was like, did these games really need multiplayer? What was even cooler though was when you reached a new area and everything was immediately ominous. I mean, the entire game is fucking ominous, but like extra ominous. Ominous with extra dip. You had no clue who or what slaughtered all of these animals and these people. And more importantly, you had no clue if it was still skulking around somewhere. And then the messages started. All of these messages of just pure despair. People begging for help. People saying that they want to go home. That shit made me anxious, but anxious in a good way. You continued forward and the messages just kept piling up. You had no clue if this thing was gonna pop out of the ground, just swoop down upon you, but whenever it did, it scared the shit out of me. So, circle back to the start of this video, which, Jesus fuck, it felt like I made that 3 weeks ago, in all honesty. Did I change my mind on my personal game of the year? I don't know, and let's face it, it doesn't really matter, does it? In hindsight, looking back at Ragnarok, the game is a lot more flawed, especially the story, than I first thought it was. While Elden Ring doesn't get worse at all. It only gets better and better, and it gets even more betterer. I told you I barely speak English. The more you play it. It does nothing to like drag out your playtime unintentionally. Like, yeah, if you die a billion times to a boss, you're easily gonna add 2, 4, 10 hours to your playtime unnecessarily, but that's more your own fault than the boss's fault, in all honesty. The reason I kept sort of comparing Elden Ring to Ragnarok and even other games in this video was because it was nice to step out of my comfort zone video game wise. If you're in a sort of similar situation to me, where started losing a bit of passion for games recently, just try it. Yeah, it's a hard game and you're gonna be frustrated, but as far as video games go, you're gonna feel really accomplished whenever you fucking laptop. Whenever you finally beat it, or just beat a boss in general. But yeah, it's a hard game, but I remember struggling much more with all of the other Souls games I mentioned all the way at the beginning of the video. You can abuse the magic system from range or just summon a lot of help if you're really stuck somewhere. Yeah, they don't hold your hand whatsoever. And for that fact alone, I already liked Elden Ring a lot more than any other game I've played this year. I mean, this year has just started, but also last year. This is normally the part where you like beg for likes and subs and stuff like that, but because I curse every 14 seconds or so, this channel is never gonna get properly monetized. So thanks for watching. Fuck off.